Let's continue reading our story from Dookie, Sookie, and Big Mo. Chapter 9 Trinkets and Charms. The sun was peering over the palm trees across the silver river when Big Mo finished his chores. Dookie was still asleep on the mat on the floor. Suddenly, a shadow fell across the square patch of light in the open doorway, and Mo turned to face the charm doctor. He was not a big man in stature, but he was great in the eyes of the villagers, for he calmed the spirits and revoked the curses by the use of his trinkets and charms. At least it seemed so in most cases. On his head he wore his ceremonial headdress, made of long hair, beads, bones, and shells, interwoven in a weird design. The markings on his face made him look bold and fierce. Strings of shells and tiny bones hung from his neck and arms. His garment was embroidered with bright-colored threads, with beads and trinkets attached. He wore a pair of sandals on his feet, for he was the spirit medium for the higher caste people, as well as for the lower caste. The higher caste were permitted to wear shoes. "Good morning," said Mo. "You startled me for a moment. I did not see you coming." The charm doctor edged into the room and looked around. "Nice, nice," he said. "You are a rich man. You have 5 nice cows, too, and a good rice crop. You are indeed a rich man. But I have come to make you richer. There is a big man over in the village beyond the 3 hills that challenges you to a fight at the time you say. He is a big man and will give you a good fight, but I know you can beat him. What do you say? He asked me to make the arrangements. That is why I came this morning." "No," said Big Mo, shaking his head as he looked down at the little sleeper on the mat. "I'm not interested. But if it is the little one you're thinking about, someone in the crowd will hold her for you. There's quite a bit of money involved in this fight." Again, Mo shook his head. "No," he said, with finality in his voice. The charm doctor was not easily shaken. He patted his money bag and said with a sly, knowing gleam in his eyes, "I have ways to make you the winner." "But I will not fight that way," said Big Mo. "I fight with my own strength in a fair way. I do not need your money, bad enough for you to fix a fight." There was a moment of silence. Then the charm doctor pointed his long bony finger down at the sleeping baby, saying, "Then this will have to go. It is this child that is keeping you from doing the things you did before, the fights, the money you received for yourself and for the spirits." As Big Mo stood up straight and tall, he looked down into the evil eyes of the charm doctor. Mo was unafraid, and he said, "She will stay with me as long as I have the strength to keep her. As I told you before, she is a gift to me from the spirits. I will guard her with my life." Then, as if to dismiss this subject, Big Mo took down the big gourd from the peg in the corner and poured some drink into a coconut shell and silently handed it to the charm doctor. "I see you are a good host," said the charm doctor. "You do not forget your hospitality." As he faced the big man of the village, he spoke words of flattery in order not to antagonize him. "Good," he said over and over as Mo poured him another drink. "If you wish, you may take the rest with you," said Mo. "The gourd is about 2/3 full. You take the gourd with you. I will not need it. anymore. Do you want to see a picture of the charm doctor pointing to little Dookie and saying she would have to go? There it is. The eyes of the charm doctor lighted up with pleasure as he accepted the gift. He looked down at the sleeping child on the floor and said, when she is older, she will come to the temple, perhaps. To the temple? Mo shouted out the words in anger. Never will I take her to the temple. She is mine to raise as my daughter, and I will teach her to be a fine lady, to be respected by everyone. She is mine. I tell you, my gift from the spirits. Let nobody ever try to take her from me. The sound of loud voices awakened Dookie, and she looked up at the two men standing and talking angrily above her. The charm doctor gazed down at her with evil eyes. He shook his chain of bones and shells and pointed his bony finger at her. When Dookie screamed in fright, Big Mo quickly took her up and held her close. She put her little arms around his neck and cuddled up to get away from the charm doctor. Oh, so that's what the picture's about. Please go, said Mo. Can't you see that you're frightening her? The charm doctor picked up the gourd and went out the door, saying, You will feel the curse of snakes because of this. You will see. With rapid steps, he went out the door and down the path. For a long time, Dookie clung to Big Mo's neck, her body trembling with fear. He patted her gently and walked around the room, speaking words of assurance and comfort to her. Then suddenly he remembered the day she burned her hand on the hot stone in the fireplace. How quickly the run to the village made her forget her fears. Shall we go to the flower market in the village and get some flowers? He asked. Dookie looked at him and smiled through her tears. Away they went down the hill path to the village. Mo had somehow expected to overtake the charm doctor, but he was nowhere to be seen. He was not at the shrine when Mo took the bouquet of flowers as an offering. Then back up the hill they went. Little Dookie laughed with joy as Mo carried her on his broad shoulders. So ends that chapter of Dookie, Sookie, and Big Mo.